Okay, everyone, welcome to the first EA Assembly. I'm here with a few other people in Noisebridge.
Woo!
And everything just turned off.
What?
1 second, my computer is it was working so well, and then it just broke. It all broke. So give me 1 second. I think the projector system here is under.
If you're watching and you haven't joined the Slack for Dot Impact, then go to the Facebook event for this and comment with your email address, and I'll add you to the Slack channel.
Right. 1 second, my computer is it was working so well, and then. Can people see this? I don't know if anyone is actually here. They claim to be online.
Someone just
I don't
posted
think one is. What's the name of the Slack team?
Seriously?
Chris Cundy.
Yeah. So it's .impact.slack. So let's just see that.
Yeah. Another person commented. Yeah, we're getting some more notifications of people giving us their emails.
Okay, so now we have 3 viewers. That's kind of cool.
That is pretty cool.
Give us time, guys.
So I should definitely stop swearing right now.
Oh, gosh.
Right, guys, so we're just waiting for a few more people to come if you're watching this, and yeah, then we'll be really kicking off with the really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is that basically all Google Hangouts start this way. Just a lot of people trying to figure out how to get on Google Hangouts.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure some people are just arriving and they're still eating cereal or whatever, and they have to figure out how Hangouts work. I have no idea how Hangouts work. I don't even know I'm in here.
Advanced technologies.
Yeah, in Slack, and that she can see us, but we can't see her. I think that's correct. Yes. Yes. It would be creepy if we could watch people watching us.
So Nino, I should have invited you, and you should have got an email in your inbox.
Actually, give me a second. Sorry, never mind.
Hey, Marcus.
Oh, everyone's quiet. I'm in because apparently for some reason my volume is down. Yeah. Oh, how you doing?
Yeah.
No.
Hey, great.
Hey, Diego.
Yeah. Are you giving a talk, Marcus?
I can improv.
Okay, great. Just in case anybody else has joined us in the last couple of minutes, if you haven't joined Slack, then go on to the Facebook event and post your email address, and I'll invite you to the Slack group. That's where we're going to be doing all the chat about EA Assembly. So basically, because Google Hangouts, you can't have more than 10 people join a Google Hangout. So some of you guys are going to have to just watch through the live broadcast. So, but we'll still chat through the general chat channel on the Dot Impact Slack. So you're going to be needed to invite you to that Slack if you haven't been already.
Cool. It seems like we're up to 8 viewers now and 6 people in here. Some people more in.
Oh, another one. Chris, how's it going?
Hello.
Hey.
Good. Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm still having some trouble with the Slack.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I invited you when it said it said I tried to invite you and it said you'd already received an invitation. So maybe you need to search inside your emails for Slack and see if you've got an invitation somewhere.
Yeah, I don't have. Yeah, I just have no emails.
6 people in here. Some people more in.
Oh, another one. Chris, how's it going?
Hello.
Someone somewhere has a huge delay on the connection because I'm hearing what I said about a minute ago come through.
Oh, okay.
Are you saying that?
Yeah, well, I invited you when it said I tried to invite you and it said you'd already received an invitation, so maybe you need to search inside your emails.
Yes, I think I found something in some folder.
Yeah, I don't have. Yeah, I just have no. There's a lot of like echo and static going on. I think could be like.
Yeah, as a default, if people want to mute their microphone, then we should be able to remove some of that.
It sounds good to me. It's like a push to talk kind of deal.
Yeah, this sounds good now. I'm not hearing any feedback.
Oh man, it's so peaceful now. I like it. There's an airplane outside.
We got Shane. Hi, Shane.
Hey.
I think we're pretty close. I'm not sure where Kyle is.
Yeah.
Naughty Kyle.
Do you have any way of reaching Kyle?
Anyone here got Kyle Scott's phone number? John Courtney, maybe you do. Maybe you want to give Kyle Scott a ring and ask him where he is.
John Courtney's our only hope. Save us, John. Save the
Okay. So, you're number 2, Peter. So how about you give the first talk? I'll give a quick introduction, and then we could start doing this.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So welcome to the EA Assembly, everyone. EA Assembly number 1. We have planning this for a while now, and God, those are annoying. Okay. But yeah, we've been planning this for a while. Basically, the idea is to try to get like a read on what everyone is doing. So like a lot of the little projects that typically don't get a huge amount of attention, or just a way to get everything in one place instead of trying to have separate talks at different times for everything. So this is kind of like a time to for people to meet each other and to get an idea of what things are going on within the EA community. And hopefully it'll be pretty consistent, and we could have them on the first Sunday of each month for a few months and see how that goes. So I'm happy that everyone's here, and I look forward to seeing what happens. So for this talk, what's going to happen is we're going to begin by having talks. And this means that there are about 5 talks from different people. You could, Tom won't be joining us, so 4 talks for different people. Plus, anyone else who wants to talk, who is able to talk, and actually is either in the participant screen or in SF where they can talk on my computer, because these people are special. They got lucky. Like any of those people are allowed to talk. So we could kind of begin, I think, just by going around and saying who we are. It would be fantastic if we could have all the viewers do that, but Google doesn't allow that yet. So if you have friends who work at Google, get them to add that functionality. Right. So basically, we're going to go around, say who we are. Then we're going to go through all of the main talks on the assembly. Each one is going to be between 3 and 15 minutes. Then, if anyone else would like to present on something for like 1 to 3 minutes, you're free to do that, or just to like give a quick update. And then we'll be going to breakout sessions. And breakout sessions exist because, in part, we could only fit 10 people per room. And because we want to be able to have some of these projects have Q&A on the side. So what that is going to be is that all the people who are doing talks, and for those interested in just some general, like, if you want to do a project but aren't sure what to do, Ben Clifford also has a breakout session. Even though he's not officially giving a talk, he has a breakout session. If anyone else wants to make a breakout session, it's very easy. Just like put together a Google Hangout and then like write it on the breakouts on the assembly. and then you could have your own little breakout session. But I think right now, having the 5 should be enough for all of us. So that's just going to be about half an hour, or however much time the speaker wants, to talk about whatever project that breakout session is focused on. So does that make sense to everyone? Do people have questions? Are we like all on the same page? Cool. So I'm going to give you a quick tour. I'm Ozzy. I've been organizing a lot of the parts of .impact recently. I'm a software engineer in the Valley, and I'm in San Francisco. Maybe we could just go around and say like who the few of us are. It's kind of dark, but we'll lighten it up for the sake of meeting us. So, would you guys like quickly say who you are?
Oh, hello, I'm Patrick, and I'm a software developer. That's all.
Hello, I'm William. I just moved down to the Bay Area. Flew down like last weekend to start working at Google, and I want to connect to EA stuff. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm a research analyst at GiveWell. I've been coming to the .impact workathons. They're fun.
Cool. So now let's continue going down the list. I'm going to go from like right to left. So I believe that's going to be Shane, Marcus, Jonathan, Diego, Chris, Ben, and Peter, who is known as .impact apparently according to Google.
According to my Google, you're .impact, Ozzy. Which one of us is the real .impact?
We'll have to find out. Okay, so Shane? Shane, are you there? Yeah, can you quickly introduce yourself?
Me, right?
Yeah.
Hi. Okay, so I'm Shane. I'm a web developer and designer, and I attended EA Global and had an amazing time. And thank you all for coming. It'll be good to see other talks.
Marcus?
Oh, great. Hi, I'm Marcus. I am working with Tom on multi-effective Altruist network stuff. I am in Vancouver, but we're in Chicago. I think that's all. Great.
Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm Jonathan Courtney. I'm the Director of Outreach for Giving What We Can. I'm based in Oxford, and I mostly work on chapter-y stuff. Yeah.
Diego?
Now,
Diego?
Ozzy, can you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna switch the camera.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Now. Hey. Okay, so I'm Calero. I'm a PhD student at UC Berkeley in anthropology. I've studied the thing that we're going to talk about, moral economics, as an extension of Tobiard's paper, and I'm writing a at some point.
Hi, I'm Rox. Right now I'm working for CEA and Health EA Global. And I'm going to be talking about moral econ also.
Okay. I think it broke up a little bit, but it's going to be recorded, so hopefully it'll be more obvious in the recording. So, Chris? Can you quickly introduce yourself? You may have to unmute yourself.
I think there's a huge delay on Chris's end, so it might take him a while to get to get the fact that you've asked him to speak.
Okay. In the meantime, do you want to go, Ben?
It takes the speed of light a while to travel.
Yeah, sure. I'm Ben. My background is I used to work at Giving What We Can. Now I'm a software developer, like many people here, and yeah, excited about ES projects as a side thing. Yeah, some badass people here. I'm really excited.
Great. Anne?
All right. Yeah, I'm a student from Germany, and I think I'm gonna speak for like a few minutes about the EA study hall, which is a something I'm starting with Malcolm Ocean in like this month later.
Peter. Peter?
I'm Peter. I am in Chicago right now. I live in Chicago. I'm a data scientist, and in my spare time, I like to do EA projects and write angry things on the internet, that sort of thing. I'll be giving a talk about donor coordination.
Okay, great. So now we're going to get started with the talks. I think the first talk by someone who's over here is Solving Donor Coordination by Peter Herford. So do you like to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. All right, so I basically see donor coordination as a huge opportunity, a potential problem for the EA movement right now. It seems like we've got a lot of awesome people doing earning to give, and like a lot of people seem to have a lot of money that they want to put into projects. And it also seems like we have a lot of awesome people with awesome ideas that want money to do cool projects. And at least from my limited point of view, it seems like the awesome people with money and the awesome people with projects aren't really linking up right now as well as they possibly could. And I think a big problem with this is donor coordination. But I also think that there's a potentially easy solution to this, is just to get donors to like actually coordinate with each other, which currently doesn't seem to be happening. At least I'm not coordinating with anyone, and I'm donating. So like I think if we just get people to talk to each other that are thinking of donating, that would like go a long way to helping this solution. So basically, like when I see people funding projects, like when I'm talking to people who want money, it seems like they're trying to get like a bunch of money from a bunch of different places. It also seems like donors are doing a lot of like waiting each other out, where like they're like, I'm not going to fund this project because I expect them to get fully funded by other people. And this makes like a lot of sense, I guess, like individually, because you want to have counterfactual impact. But like collectively, it means that projects are very slow to get funded, and it sometimes takes like 3, 4, 5, 6 months to gather enough funding, and by then like your ability to do the project might already be over. So that seems really bad, and I guess, and it like seems like we're missing a huge opportunity to get projects funded in like a timely manner. And I think that like if like let's say a project needed $50,000 to get off the ground, like it seems easy enough to get like 5 donors to each agree to split it like 5 ways evenly and give like $10,000 each, and that way they like don't have to fight over like who gets to fund it or who gets to save their money for doing something else, and they're not like waiting each other out. And it would probably lead to like quicker projects getting funded and more funding happening. I guess like a big attempt to solve this is like EA Ventures, and I definitely think that EA Ventures is doing a really good job. And I don't really want to like criticize them, especially because I actually haven't gotten around to talking to them about this yet. I really intended to talk to them in advance of this talk, but I got a little bit busy. But it seems that like even projects that are being funded by EA Ventures are still like taking a really long time to get funded, or like not really getting a lot of funding. And like I guess EA Ventures is like I guess introducing people to funders who are then like doing their own conversations and their own vetting. But it seems like all the donors are still like kind of quite individual and like don't really know one another, and that there could be like a lot of benefit from like networking. So I think basically if we could like stop people from waiting out each other, like get people to know more about what projects need funding and which projects are in which stages, and basically actually like coordinate donors, that would be like a huge opportunity for the EA movement. And I'm interested in like hearing solutions for how that might happen. It could just be as easy as like a Facebook group or something. Facebook groups seem to solve a lot of coordination problems already, and we could just like have yet another group. Or I'm open to other ideas too. Yeah, thank you.
So a quick comment. So for the community, you basically want to ideas about ways of doing this, and for the breakout session, you probably want to discuss that?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Does anyone have some questions? We do have a few like minutes on this, or like any ideas that they want to add quickly.
We've got some a question in the Slack channel from Anne.
Yeah, so
Could speak
I
for
guess
herself.
question from Anne asks that she thinks EA Ventures are funding large projects only. That definitely does seem to be correct. I think that they are really interested in projects like looking for like $10,000 or more. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but that's kind of how I felt that like what I've seen so far. So yeah, it would be hard to get small projects through EA Ventures. I've also seen it hard to get large projects through EA Ventures, and I don't want to fault them. I mean, they're a bunch of really busy people doing a lot of really awesome things, and it's hard to do EA Ventures and EA Global and like EA Outreach all simultaneously. But yeah, I think that small projects could also be falling through the cracks. Ben Clifford asks, am I thinking big projects or small projects? I guess I was like primarily thinking about big projects, but like small projects are definitely also valuable. And they might be like very easy to fund. Like if it's just like one person who needs like $2,000, they really just need to find like basically like one donor, and they probably can get all their needs met. Harish says, thinking out loud, a Kickstarter like ongoing EA projects could increase visibility. That's like a really interesting idea. Rebecca asks, what are some examples of projects that have been slow to be funded and have been substantially negatively affected by this? Yeah, that's a really good question. Again, I don't really want to speak on behalf of other people, but I think that like charity science has been slowed down a bit by going through the EA Ventures process and not really finding any funders through it. Like they found like one funder. Like we sent .impact through the EA Ventures process, and after a couple months they got back to us saying that like our project was too small to be funded because we only asked for like $1,000. I think that EA Norway went through EA Ventures and like they weren't able to. I think they still haven't gotten any response yet. And again, like this isn't like a criticism of EA Ventures or anything. I mean, they're doing good work. It's just a really tough problem to like take all these projects and evaluate all of them. Anne asks, am I thinking of being less selective? Like I guess relative to the selectivity of EA Ventures. I guess I don't really have a good sense of how selective EA Ventures are. I guess I'd think about just like letting the projects speak for themselves. Like if you get a bunch of projects with basically no filter in front of a bunch of donors, the donors could then choose what they want to fund, and like each donor could be as selective as they want. I guess EA Ventures' point of view probably is that like donors would appreciate the filtering and that they don't really have time to sort through all the projects on their own. And it's like quite possible they're right about that, so I don't really know about it. Diego says it's very hard to get people to do direct donations, but it's also one of the largest benefit when people start working with their whole income based on that. Do I think direct donations could solve part of this coordination issue? I guess like I don't really understand what you're saying, Diego. I'm sorry about that. Any other questions? This is fun. It's like going through questions. Diego says he'll explain later. Yeah, again, apologies. I'm out of questions now. Oh no. Ben says, do I have plans for this? Yeah, I guess what my plans are, I probably want to talk to Kerry at EA Ventures. I did talk to him a while ago, and he thought that like one potential solution would be to hire somebody full-time to work on EA Ventures, because right now it's like it's just him and Tyler and some other people, and they're like working more than full-time on like EA Global and other EA Outreach stuff, and so they don't have a ton of time for EA Ventures, and it's possible a full-time person might help. Yeah, Ben asked if I'm just raising it as a question. That's correct. I'm just kind of asking it as a question. But yeah, my concrete next steps would be to talk to Kerry. I'd also probably want to, I definitely want to have like a breakout session and discuss this more. I plan on writing a blog post about it on the EA forum. I guess another question I'm wondering about is whether there's value in like kind of opening up the project funnel so that like it's not pre-filtered by EA Ventures. I guess curious about that. I guess Roxanne asks, why do you have the sense that people are waiting until the last minute? I guess that sense comes from a couple of different things. like I think Ben Kuhn wrote about on the EA forum wrote about Giving What We Can's recent fundraising appeal, where like they struggled to attract enough funding for a couple months, and they like wrote like 4 different blog posts asking for funding, and then they finally got their funding together on the last day. I think that's also true of a few other fundraisers. I guess Miri's fundraiser was like a lot more linear, so it didn't look like people were waiting it out. I remember like a CFAR fundraiser was like very slow to start for a while, and then they got a ton of money and met their goal on like the very last day. Yeah, John Courtney says it was also true of CFAR. And I think, yeah, it just like theoretically makes sense that people would do that. I definitely feel that way myself sometimes. And I think like, why would you want to donate to something if like it's already going to get fully funded? So there's kind of like a tendency to wait out, and not unless you have like more information. Will says, could you create a pool of money that they could be used to provide small businesses quick grants to new projects, and donors would donate to that pool? Yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense if like donors really trusted the person managing the pool. I think that kind of solution might be interested in considering. Dennis, I guess, talks about expected utility options. I honestly haven't read that post, but I definitely should give it a read. Roxanne says maybe instead of waiting to be the counterfactual donor, they might just be procrastinating until the deadline, like people always do. Yeah, that's definitely fair to say. Maybe like we could try fundraisers with much shorter deadlines. I guess it's also possible that like maybe people need to like save up the money to donate or something. Like they hear like, oh, this organization needs $5,000. I don't have $5,000 yet, but like in 2 months I'll be able to save up that $5,000 and then I can donate. That's like another reason why people might be waiting.
That was a mistake.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, so it's been about it's been about 10 minutes.
Sweet.
I think we can kind of close.
You still there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Do you think we should close the session and go to the next talk?
Yeah, I think gone through about 10 minutes.
All right, sounds good to me. All right, thanks,
All right,
everyone.
great. Thanks, Peter. And keep in mind that people are welcome to come into if they have other questions, ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Shane, are you there?
Hey, yeah, I'm here. Is there any way that I could defer until after the next speaker, if the next person's ready, or I can also go now if that doesn't work for them?
Diego, so is he ready?
If not, I can go. Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm happy to go also. We're not getting a response from him, and I don't want to hold the flow up. So.
Yeah, how about you go now?
Yeah, thank you for asking, Nawazi. So I came today to talk about this idea that I have called the moral network. Basically, it's a network for solving the world's problems, and I think there's no better place to start than the EA community. In fact, I can't imagine it starting anywhere outside of the EA community. Basically, here's sort of how I'm going to introduce that. So I've been reading this book, The Idea Factory, recently. It's about the beginnings of Bell Labs and research that they were doing in hardware and information theory and all sorts of interesting things. And one of the things that I took from that, they were talking about their whole process that they went through, and they had basically 3 stages. And it's probably overly generalized, but I thought these 3 stages were really interesting. So the first was research, where they would research new ideas. And then second was development, where they would turn some of those ideas, along with older ideas they'd had, into actual new hardware products. And then they'd move into manufacture, so how to turn the developed products into like economically feasible manufacture lines. And so I'm not talking about the second two, I'm just talking about the first today. Although theoretically, there are plenty of things that we could do to make the ideas that we have both more developed and to speed up the rate at which they're manufactured. But right now I'm just talking about ideation, basically. So the first step, sort of like research, but with creating ideas. And that's what the Moral Network is about, especially at the start, is creating new ideas that solve problems in the real world. So basically, the way that I'm seeing this is there are two categories, two things in the program that people can create and play with. There are problems that they notice in the real world, either like really large problems, like global scale problems, or larger than global scale problems, like massive existential risks, or very small problems, problems that they notice in their communities, or even problems that they notice in their own lives. And then there are solutions to these problems that people create. And it's really quite simple. So you can upvote problems if they seem interesting or tractable, or like they're a good place in which you should be investing your time. And then you can come up with solutions to those problems and upvote those. So if somebody comes up with a really interesting problem, and then somebody else comes up with a really interesting solution to that problem that also seems very tractable and like a good thing to push for, people can upvote that. And then if there's a problem with that solution, you can create a problem for each solution. And so it sort of goes like that. It's if you're a programmer, you can imagine it as a tree or like an acyclic graph, where it moves from the top, where you start with either a problem or a solution, and then you come up with solutions/problems for the various things. So that's generally the idea, and that's how I think we can create a lot of interesting ideas. That's how I think we already sort of do it, is we notice real problems in the world, and then we come up with solutions for those problems, and then we sort of work through, we develop this churn where we look at the solutions that we've come up and we notice problems with them, and then we sort of develop them like that. So that's the sort of general, like large picture view of it. Specifically, this could be used as an intranet for either like friendships, like small communities, just small groups of people, or for larger organizations. So I would see this actually being really useful for like a nonprofit if they're trying to diagnose problems either in the world or in their own sort of organizational habits. They can notice problems and then pitch these problems to their own communities, ask them for good solutions, and then come up with solutions for those things. So you can also take some things from Reddit and subreddits, like upvotes. Clearly, you can upvote problems. You can't downvote them. Instead of downvoting, for instance, a solution, you just come up with a problem for it. So there are only upvotes. The way to downvote it is to come up with a problem with it. There's also karma. So if somebody's like really good at coming up with interesting ideas, whether the ideas are interesting takes on problems that everybody recognizes, but a specific way of framing it, or whether they come up with, or whether they're really good at coming up with solutions to those problems, they can sort of build a reputation as being somebody who's good in different areas. So somebody who's like really agile at thinking about different areas of existential risk, say microbiology and epidemic threats. They might come up with lots of interesting analyses of problems and then come up with interesting solutions for those problems and sort of develop a reputation there. And then people who are interested in that space can follow their work very easily. They can know who's respected and who's doing a good job in the various communities. And then criticism. So I mean, clearly we can criticize each other's ideas really easily with this. We can criticize our own ideas. We can get criticism from other people for ideas that we've come up with. And in the practical, like long run, so that's the short run is start with the EA community, start with like a really intense small batch, then push it out to other nonprofits and organizations, and then in the long run, it's like a social network for ideation, a social network for solving real problems in the world. And here's the thing. So that's the whole vision. I'm open to criticism. I'm looking in Slack for general stuff, like general callouts. Is that the right place to look, actually, Ozzy? Should I be looking in Slack?
Yeah, that's the right place to look.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm checking there. I don't know. I've been trying to. Computer's running a little bit slow. Is there a specific like channel that I should be looking in for?
The general channel is where everything happens.
Is it in general? Okay, thank you very much. Sounds like Stack Overflow is a better comparison. So that's possible. Yes, I've thought about this, and it would be stealing some of the ideas that Stack Overflow has. But the thing is that Stack Overflow isn't like a moral network. It's not something that's designed to help people solve real problems in the real world, like specific practical problems. In fact, it's so specific that generally, if you want to solve a problem in the world with Stack Overflow, it's like you're trying to figure out something with grammar, for instance, as opposed to creating the basis for an organization. The idea is that everybody who starts like a solution, that solution has the potential to turn into an actual organization that improves the world in some way. So it's not like you're trying to necessarily only correct deficiencies in your knowledge. You're also trying to improve the world in a sort of novel way. I don't see anything out there that does that right now. So I'm looking in the general channel.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Ozzy.
Come up with like very is like if it's possible to do it in a very easy, simple scale. So,
yes, you were kind of cutting out for a second. It might have been my connection. Sorry, yeah, you cut out and cut back in. You were asking, if I'm correct, you were asking, is there any way that we can start this on a small scale? Is that sort of what you were asking?
Like.
Yeah. So I mean, the first version, I sort of imagine that you could just imitate Reddit. You could imitate either Reddit or Stack Overflow. It's like a pretty common message board system that's in wide use these days. I have very simple UI things, nothing that I can show you today. So things that I'm looking for, if anybody's interested in contributing, I'm a lame developer. I've mostly done front-end web development. So if somebody's like a good app developer and they're interested in working, I would totally want to talk to them. And then UI, if somebody's like a really good designer, I'm a decent web designer, but like I don't have the skills to build an app like this, and not something especially that can scale in the longer run. So if somebody's interested in that, that'd be cool. I'm Slack channel, although like I said, my computer's running kind of slow. So Peter, have I thought about testing this idea on the EA forum or a subreddit? I have thought about that. Yes, but here's one of the other neat features that I think that this has and that I didn't get into earlier, is that a solution, by its nature, isn't just a solution for one problem in most cases, and it almost always creates problems. So like, in the same way in economics, you're choosing, it's like an opportunity cost, and any choice that you make is between scarce resources, and so you're sort of, it's creating a problem in a way. It's preventing you from making some other choice. There are problems with solutions, and every solution is likely to be solving multiple problems, or to at least have an effect on multiple problems. And so it's this sort of multi-dimensional thing, or I don't know exactly how like the database would work for that, but it's not just a single tree that branches from one point. So that's why I'm very hesitant to start this on just a subreddit or something like that, because those start from one point, whereas this can sort of be a little bit more confusing, and that's part of why I'm curious to hear from developers to see if they either think it's practical or if it's something that they think they want to work on. I'm looking now. Peter Herford asked if there would be interest outside the EA community. That's a really good question. So the short answer is yes, but that's hard to get into right now because that involves like potential things that could be built on top of this, like ad hoc decentralized organizations that can work with other technologies that are built into this. So if you look at things like IdeaScale, for instance, there are things that are good for like pitching, trying to get ideas. Nothing that's as good as this for multiple reasons that I probably shouldn't get into now. But they all kind of fail when it comes to like volunteers coming together to try to organize around solving problems. And I think that there's room for something that helps with that. And outside of the EA community, like nonprofits and organizations would really love to have this. I know lots of people who would pay for this. So there is a space for that. I know like multiple organizations that would like it. Jonathan Courtney asked if I'm worried that the most popular solutions will not be the best. I am worried about that, but I feel like that sort of thing tends to resolve itself as people get frustrated with the problems, with the solutions that other people come up with, and they come up with their own solutions, and then people sort of organize around those more specific / better solutions. So there is this sort of worry of over democracy, where only the most popular solutions are the most visible. But in the longer run, if people can create their own sort of social networks where their friends in the network who have specific tastes upvote things and they see what their friends like, it's probably not so much a problem of what's most popular as a problem of what they see based on their networks, like it is in Facebook and Twitter and all the other things, or most of the other social networks that we already have. Rebecca asked, it seems like I can get a lot of solutions to problems by just Googling. Like there's a lot of info out there already. So how would I make sure that this network doesn't cause people to spend time recreating content that already exists? Am I not worried about this really? So my general response to that is like the problem, like you said, is that there are lots of solutions to problems that people can find out by just Googling. But I don't want like lots of solutions. I want to quickly know what the best solutions are, relatively speaking. And this is a really good way with upvoting to figure that out. It's like I can quickly get a summary of what the most interesting things, what the best / most interesting solutions to problems are. Ozzy mentioned instead creating like a discus forum or something similar to that. Writing a new app is a lot of work. That's totally true. This gets back to like it having only one parent. Like most, like technically, a discus forum, it's centered around blog posts usually or pages on the internet. Somebody could write a blog post that's like a problem, but lots of solutions are solutions to multiple problems, and lots of solutions have multiple problems that arise by implementing the solution. So something that doesn't have just one parent, but sort of has more than one parent. I don't know how to explain it. I maybe should have gotten something visual going to help with that. But yeah, theoretically, that could be a good way to start. Rebecca asked, what would be the incentive for people to spend a lot of time creating solutions to others' problems? E.g., for large global problems, the solution could require a ton of research. Or for small personal problems, a lot of people can get solutions somewhat quickly by talking with their friends about it. So first one, for large global problems, I think everybody in the EA community, well, most people at least, like coming up with solutions for large global problems. Like that's a lot of what people talk about. It's just kind of fun to like try to come up with ideas for these things. Like I could see this being a lot of fun, is part of why I'm interested in it. It's not just useful, but like it feels good to do because you're helping the world in a big way. And then for small problems, this is just a way to expedite that process. So you can just post your problem, share it with a few friends, and if they have solutions to your problems, they can like post those. And it can be just a small, very small intranet that you run whenever you want to with whoever you want to. And William, I have not looked at the MIT Climate Collab. I will check that out. Thank you for sending the link. Peter Herford asked, what would be an example of a problem and a solution? I'm hesitant to get too much into this because pretty immediately I think that people are going to start criticizing both my choice of problem and my choice of solution. But I'll use the one that I threw out earlier, which is like epidemics are a serious problem. And you could have as a solution a group of microbiologists who get together to do experiments on the human genome and come up with both like potential epidemics privately and then vaccines for those epidemics. And that's, once again, that's like just something I'm throwing out there, that there are like holes that you could poke in that, which is sort of the point. But that's just an example. Rebecca said, seems to me that for small problems, people do have the incentive to write it up and present it, e.g. people creating blog posts about things they've already figured out, or Facebook content, etc. Yes, true. I think that that could also be useful for doing with this. I think that this is like more centralized. Like instead of having a blog that's not part of a centralized network, this is part of a centralized network. So anybody who's interested in like real problems in the world can come to this place and see the conversations that people are having about these problems. And you have as much as you can do in a blog. Like you can write the same stuff. You can post pictures and videos. That would be part of this. William is feeling, it's said it's hard to fully articulate in a Slack comment, but he's feeling skeptical about this. I think you're thinking too big right now, and you need to build something simple for a specific target market. Okay, granted, I will take that piece of criticism. Thank you for the criticism. Ozzy Goen said 2 more minutes, and that was 2 minutes ago, so I'm really feeling like I should stop talking now. And Anne agrees with William, going with Lean Startup. Okay, well, thank you all for your time.
Yeah. Would you like to have a breakout session? Like originally you said no, but...
I don't have time. I need to leave to go to a family event very soon, and that'll be fun. And unfortunately, I can't do this today. But thank you for asking.
That's great. So next up is Diego about more.
Okay, can people hear?
Yes.
I'm going to be introducing Roxanne, who will actually start to talk. She's also going to be working on more economics for a bit later on. So.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I'm like usurping the first half of this talk. Yeah, so Diego told me about moral economics a while ago, and he like doesn't have time to be taking it on, but I'm an econ student writing an honors thesis, so I decided I would snatch up moral econ and see if I could turn it into a field of practice of sorts. So moral economics, for those of you who weren't to be global, didn't see Diego's talk is the integration of the classic field with like the moral concepts that we try and fit into it. From the work I've done on it so far, it looks like it's going to be focusing more on utilitarian or consequential, but I hope to expand it into other moral realms in the future. Yeah, so I guess the place to start with this is there is a bunch of concepts that are rattling around, namely moral trade paper by Toby Orr that was published a couple of years ago, and he's given a couple talks. It's one of many ideas I could go into, but alas, I don't have a lot of time. I would suggest looking at his paper. So there's moral trade and altruist impact.
Wait, I'm just going to interrupt here for a second.
Yeah.
Can anyone else hear it very well? Yeah, could you maybe try turning off the video and just talking audio? And we could quickly...
Okay, so this copy.
Hello, you copy?
Yeah, that's what we're trying. Sorry, someone else recommends this. So I guess some of us could try disabling our video and seeing if that helps. And then like turning it on back afterwards.
Can you hear
Oh
us
yeah, can you
better?
try talking again? Yeah, this sounds a lot better actually.
Okay. So we'll try to turn on our video again.
All right. Okay, cool. I'm going to continue then. Yeah, so there are a bunch of these concepts rattling around in the EA space as ways to, take the things that we do very classically, giving, spending time, etc., and like optimize like the outcome. So yeah, the case of moral trade. Have like two people who have slightly different moral sets, and something that the other person finds very moral. Say one person wants to stop climate change, and the other one wants to stop factory farming. One of them agrees to go vegetarian in exchange for the other one, reducing their CO2 emissions, maybe recycling or like not an international flight or something like that. So the result is them has gotten something that like ups their moral count. And so there are these sorts of concepts that are outside the traditional like paradigm that could actually be very useful in achieving. But the discipline doesn't really have power at the moment. We haven't really figured out how, what a supply and demand curve actually mean in the space of moral. We haven't really figured out how to differentiate, the classical moral economics realm. One of the things I've been focusing on in the small amount of research I've done, the kind of false way that economists utility. So in a classical definition of utility, if you have any bit of an economics, is like the amount of goodness that a person gets out of some object. So if you spend $1,000 something, let's say $1,000 premium on a car with a feature, you get $1,000 worth of utility. And this kind of works when you're spending money on your because you don't really have a good utility metric. This is a thing we generally as EAs, but economists face this. So they do kind of a cop-out thing where they just use utility in terms of dollars as opposed to anything. This really, really doesn't make sense when you're donating money to charity because you're not getting $10,000 for utility out of Mary, but instead, you recognize that there might be $10,000 worth of utility happening somewhere in the universe because of the thing that you've done. So the first big challenges I'd be trying to tackle in making it economics is like disentangling the part of the utility that the thing that you get yourself versus the utility that you provide for others. And I think classical economics is like a really good way to like think off and figure out all of the practical practical ways in which things that we're doing. This is in vague and fluffy, but Diego's a little bit more concrete with.
Hello, people still here? Well, I hope most of you are still there.
Yeah, we're still here.
I'm going to turn on a presentation which will transmit information of the video. So I'm going to give a version of my moral econ presentation on eGlobal. And it's a little bit different, so I'm calling it the bird's eye view, but it's actually the same presentation again. If you have seen it already, well, good, you get to see it again. Oh, darn. So, can you see the PowerPoint screen, or are you seeing us?
Yeah.
Is it working?
Yeah, it's kind of it's pretty difficult to read any of the text. Like we kind of make out images, but not the text.
Yeah, the words will not be necessary. It's mostly pictures. So I'm just going to go ahead and read it whenever words would be needed. Okay, so let's talk about four things that have everything to do with one another. Attractors, morality, and Neptune. So first of all, attractors. Attractors are just what their name is. They attract matter towards them. They compel matter in their direction. So far in the history of the universe, there's been four main attractors that have organized the ways that the arrangements of matter shape themselves with relation to each other. Gravity, food, selection, and more recently, money, or the economy. And I want to suggest that there's a fifth attractor, and this is one of the ways in which I like to look at moral economics, the morality attractor. I feel compelled to save the child there, or if you are into astronomical stakes, you feel compelled to save the billions and billions of joy that could be in the ocean that surrounds them at some point in the far future. So I want to think of morality and of moral economics as this fifth attractor. And the current state of affairs is not exactly that. This is not how people currently think of morality and its relation to economics. The public perception is that ethics is a field far removed from the capitalistic momentum and agenda. And at the same time, you have an attractor that directs you to one side, whereas money is basically an attractor pointing you to the other end. And the current state of affairs of how we think about moral economy, how we think about moral forms of trade, is very primitive, because like the thing that existed 2 months ago was the paper by Toby Orr, the moral trade paper. But I want to walk us through what has happened since, what my suggestions are. But like 2 months ago, we were in a state in which basically the economics and its relation to morality was a state of trade and barter, very similar to, say, 2,000 years ago in the actual domain of economics, before we invented money and currency. So what's that got to do with Neptune? Neptune is interesting, not because of what it is, but because of how it was found. And the way in which Neptune was found was that someone had an idea, and it was an idea of what's. So based on the orbit of Uranus, people predicted where a planet ought to be just because of its gravitational field. And then they were to look. So someone had an idea based on a theoretical framework for where to look, and then they a planet lying exactly where it was predicted, kind of 20 years before, like 40 years before, something like that. So like my idea for moral economics is the same thing. It's an idea for where to look at things. I want to build a road to the moral economic Neptune. And the idea, like the general bird's eye view. And as Rox has described, the current state of you have kind of these epicycles where people post like EA forum or now give talks on the EA assembly about some idea that they have of how to go about reorganizing and reshaping the moral market. Arbitrage, certificates of impact, moral market apps. All those things are interesting ideas, but they're still not a framework like the one we had after we understood the orbit of Neptune. And I want to find the hidden Neptunes in this land. So the goal is to find a theoretical framework that will allow us to find where should the other ideas that are in the same cluster of moral economics ideas, and how can we go about finding them. And this is exactly what happened. So I posted about moral economics, I think 2 months ago, in the EA forum, and I mentioned the ideas that had already been had by other EAs, like the ones that are there on screen. And basically, then many other people came up with many more ideas, which kind of determined the orbit and helped determine the cluster of other ideas in the moral economic space. So the idea behind moral economics is to find a place for new ideas and for how to reason about the economic field in a, if you are of a more utilitarian persuasion. And for the attractors, this makes the space easier. So who are some of the EAs that kind of are already working in this space? Rox honors thesis on moral economics for Tulane University. Christian Ron is developing a moral market app. And Giles Atkins has picked it up on the moral economics scene and decided to develop a very complex and sophisticated variations and improvements on certificate impact, which is now, I think, about 30 pages long. And it has many other variations in stock market and many other, different instantiations of certificates of impact that will like substantially improve the fluidity of the moral market. We have Paul Cristiano, who came up with the idea of certificates of impact and is also backing it financially to, get it to hit the ground running, so to speak. And Peter Herford posted about a causal trade on the forum. I also have a post that is related to a causal trade and about agential identity, so like forms of different ways of seeing agents in the moral realm. And this is something that I intend to post later on after Giles posts his own post. So basically, the idea of moral economics was to give people a place to look at, and I think that this is actually starting to happen. And people are starting to look at many different subsets of the economic environment that could be entered into the moral realm in such a way that we learn faster how to go all the way from trade. So the way I see this, you have these 4 attractors that have organized the arrangements of matter like throughout the structure of throughout the development of the universe, and I can imagine a future where you have this 2-star system where moral economics doesn't exactly control or organize the economy, but it takes a substantial fraction of the resources and it transforms them into orbit and makes them be shaped and aligned with values in a much faster and more fluid way. So you have the normal economy producing most of the resources and the moral economy capturing a substantial fraction and reorganizing them and where they go to. So this is the role that I try to play to bring us all the way from the trade and barter all the way up to this dual star system at the end of and this could have taken thousands of years as it took in the normal economic sphere, and I think that we can make this much faster. It would be a great improvement. So in the presentation I gave at the Global, I finished by saying, and what else? These aspirations are very large aspirations. They're cosmic aspirations. It's completely insufficient for an effective altruist perspective. So what I want to see in the next presentations in the Assembly, at the Global, and other places, people developing a way of reasoning about moral economics and artifacts such as apps or devices that will make economics so strongly ingrained in our subconscious, so easy to participate on, that people won't even have to think about what they're doing in order to participate in the moral economy. So that's basically the idea that I conveyed at EA Global. Yeah. Back to the other screen. And so if you have questions for me, open the Slack channel.
So this has already gone on for 15 minutes, so how about the questions happen in the breakout session?
Sure.
So we could like finish this up. It's 2 p.m. But thank you for that talk, and great. So right now, talks. I think like I think Kyle has some difficulty. Would anyone else here like to speak about something? Yes, go ahead.
All right. So I didn't have like a 5-minute talk, but there's a thing that's going live this month, which is the EA Study Hall. The basic idea is that it's a chat with optional video that is live 24/7 for people to go there, and the idea is that there's like a ongoing flow and cycling of Pomodoros. Like you go there, you work on your own thing for 30 minutes or so, and then you have a break together. But the reason why Malcolm and I am setting this up for EAs is less like, oh, make EAs more productive, and more like hoping to solve the problem of having so many EAs distributed so widely over the planet. So with having an open chat room that people can hang out in whenever, because it's open all the time, can lead to people connecting all over the globe. So existing proof of concept is the Less Wrong Study Hall, which has been existing for 2 years. I'm a regular there, and yeah, hoping that the same effects we've been seeing on the Less Wrong Study Hall can also happen on the EA Study Hall, and possibly more. Malcolm is creating this on his own website, his Compass website, which is his own service. So it will be possible to add more features later on to make this more awesome, and enable people to maybe connect this with some other websites, like the Skillshare one, for example. I'm not sure if I'm forgetting things that, like, for me it's obvious what it's going to look like, but I think it might be possible that people are misunderstanding what I mean by it. So there will be a bunch of different rooms. I think there will be a main EA study hall, which has its own link. And then from there, you can create different rooms. So I know that .impact has had hackathons, which is, so they're going for like a weekend or so. So if you want to have like a different work format, then you could just simply create a different channel and go on in that room, and it would have a different link. The questions. What about people that want to hang out without doing work? Sure, why not? It's not forced. So basically, the basic setup is just basically a chat room where you with optional video, so you can turn on the video. We found it quite helpful for getting a social feel in the chat room through the video. But yeah, you could have your separate hall where you just chat. Could have audio as well. Diego says, oh no, this is irrelevant, I think. The attendance at the Less Wrong Study Hall, it depends on, so I'm European time zones, so over the day it's usually between 2 to 10 people. And I think at 10 people it gets too full. So if there's more than 10 people, it makes sense to like split off a group to go into a different room. Would it make sense to integrate with some of the stuff we already have? Yeah, so I think it might be useful to integrate it with some other things. I'm not sure Slack, because it does have its own chat. So maybe there's some way that would be beneficial, but if you just want a chat, then this is like part of the chat already. But yeah, as I mentioned, like Skillshare might make sense if there's people looking for other people to help them in their project or whatever. They could do it via that. Getting a link shared on effectivealtruism.org. A good idea. I haven't. Yeah. Any other questions? This will be posted. So currently, Malcolm is still working on the video part, which is quite tricky to do. This is the reason why so far we've been on TinyChat, but TinyChat sucks and is bad software, so he's making his own thing. This is happening either way, but I'm particularly interested in having an EA study hall because I think this would be awesome for the EA community. We'll see how it works out. But I will be posting this, or Malcolm will be posting this on the EA forum, so you know when it's going live. I think currently I'm less worried about not getting enough people to like cover the time zones enough. This didn't appear to be a problem on the Less Strong Study Hall, even though we started out with quite a low amount of people. I think what I'm more worried about is getting the right atmosphere on it, like a kind of social welcoming atmosphere. So I'm currently still looking for people across different time zones who would be willing to try it out and hang out a bit. The kind of people who would be happy to like take a little bit of a moderating role, just to the extent that you're being welcoming to new people, like chatting and asking people about what they're working on and how they are and so on. I can go into more detail then. But basically, I'm just going to put my email address there. And if you're interested in hearing more about it, then you can email me. Thanks.
Thank you. Dates, or just like want to let people know what they've been doing. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hi. To EA who like in like different areas and like can't go to like bar areas where there aren't a lot of in-person events and stuff. The one idea that was trying basically like having a list where a half-hour Skype conversation around a lot of other EAs to like get into something where they can regularly have conversations with EAs. And like yeah, just from my experience, like over the last year, I've had several random like half-hour. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Start again. Not graphically located alongside other EAs. The idea is you have a form which feeds into a list. You have a list, and then every 2 weeks you randomly pair up people on the list and say, "Hey, you should like this. There's this other interesting person who's interested in EA. You should have a half-hour Skype conversation with them." And provide a really simple way for people to connect in person, one-on-one with EAs, and I'm just like it would be the sort of thing that like makes sense from how I interact with people, because like when I join a Facebook group and see a bunch of random people, I don't go and like message random people and say, "Hey, could I talk with you?" That's just like not So I just wanted to throw that out there. If anyone like is interested in this or thinks good idea, please let me know, because I won't do this if I don't get any feedback, but I might do it if I do get feedback. So yeah.
Anyone else? That's super bright. Anyone else? Okay.
Yeah, just to say we've had some problems hearing what I was speaking about. It sounded like it was Peter Herford says, sounds like Will is talking about regularly pairing up EAs through Skype based on shared interest. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just checking whether that was correct.
No way.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Anyone else? Last call. Cool. So thanks everyone for coming so far. And the thing after this is going to be the breakout sessions. So we have a bunch of links. I'm not sure if you're into new. The way that this works now is that we have and the hackpad is on the bottom of it is a like hackpad edit link. Yeah. With video invites or with. Can you hear me now? I'm going to turn off the video. Can you hear me? Okay. So basically, we have Google Hangouts set up for each of the breakouts. If they don't work, then the people in charge of them need to make extra Google Hangout. I just did. They need to make extra, and that's is to alternate between workathons and month, and then 3 workathons. Feel free to come back and work on these projects in future workathons, and then talk about them in future assemblies. So that's the impact role, and now I'm going to allow people to split up and talk individually on both the Slack channel and in the breakouts. Great. Meeting adjourned. That's
Cool. If anyone has any problems getting to any of the Google Hangouts, you want to just contact me. Either on the Slack or you can email me on imbenclifford@gmail.com or on Facebook. Comment on Facebook. I'll be checking all those things.
also feel free to add suggestions and advice at the end of that hackpad document. We want to do this again, and we want to make it better.